Hey guys, right, that's the button, isn't it? Yeah, you know how this sort of thing goes. It's Mel, innit? Hey guys, Mel here. Right, welcome to the first of our sort of monthly hangouts and our tale of three gamers, possibly four.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously this is a sort of like a monthly thing. We've got a few of, well, we've got the gang here, but we've also got a special guest. So very first, we've got John McLeod of the Clan McLeod. There can only be one.
Good evening.
Good evening. Next we got David the Mazamundi.
How you doing?
Yeah, and then we've also got special guest star, the infamous Rich Dando. How you doing, mate?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, all good.
Right. Finally, we've got my mate Mike, who's Wednesdays are sort of our hobby night. Well, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, one of them, isn't it? And we sort of get together on a weekly basis, and he's happened to be here, so he joined the show. Now, kudos to Mike. Yeah. When it comes to bot action, you're quite knowledgeable, aren't you?
I know a bit about it, yeah.
And you're quite a good painter, aren't you?
I've got a reasonably good pedigree, yeah.
Yeah, reasonably good pedigree.
Got some stuff in the bolt action rule book and the German Army book.
See? You see, this is
mentioned in dispatches in the German Army book at the beginning. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Now you see, this is where I learnt that my chin. He gave me the paint scheme for my Chindits because I didn't have a clue. Yeah. He's also the one that points out that Dave's putties aren't painted correctly. So I'll leave that to you two. No, they're not. They're green.
They're right. You look at the artworks and they're right. I got it.
You're not commenting?
Look at the reenactors. They're the ones that do the research. Let someone else do all the work. They do the groundwork. And if you can find some with green putties on, I'll buy you a biscuit.
Deal. I want it chocolate covered.
Okay, right. The other thing that we like to do here is obviously it's not just us lot behind the camera having a natter. Yeah, we've got the comments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and start giving shout-outs. Now, you know the drill. If you're watching and you want to shout out, you want to say hi in the comments, yeah? And hopefully by the time I've got down to these, yeah, I'll get to your comment. Right, so who have we got? So, starting at the top, Rusted, Casey, Techie, George, T Creative, Brain Spider, Brain, there's some bloke called Richard Dando, don't know who he is.
Brain Spider?
Yeah, cool name, eh?
A fabulous name.
Yeah, we've got Pete. Who else have we got? I see Andy, Bill. Who else we got? Garrison, hello, matey. Bill. Johannes, hello, matey. Bill, T's. Roy, how you doing? I think we're getting there. That's about it. That's the gang. But like I say, if you want to say hi, say shout out, any questions for us or anything like that, just, throw them. Hey, Sean, throw them in the comments. Also, yeah, basically the idea of tonight is we're just going to spend an hour and a bit just painting, chatting, that sort of stuff. So join in with the chat, ask any questions, yeah. Mike knows a lot about painting. Rich knows quite a bit about Warlord, I'm guessing, so he can answer those. Dave and John, yeah, you can drill them on their Japanese and US military history, but I'm guessing it's much like my Chindit history. Yeah, very slim. Bit like the Chindits.
Very slim, yeah. I have been reading my book, but...
I got a few nuggets.
Yeah. What do you know, Rich? What do you know about bolt action? Well, obviously you know tons about bolt action, but what do you know about Pacific Theatre, mate?
I'm kind of obsessed with it, to be honest. Obviously, like a lot of people, I kind of came from other war games, and then came to Warlord to kind of pick and pack orders. Obviously, World War II wise, I know stuff kind of from Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers. I know that the North-West Europe kind of theatre quite well. But then came and picked here, and kind of the first model that I really picked a bunch of was my beloved Buffalo, which I've been dared not to talk about for 10 minutes.
Didn't you?
I did within the first 5 minutes, yeah. I love the Buffalo, quite obsessed with it, a little bit. So just picking and packing orders and spotted the Buffalo, and then within a few months, I think, of me joining here, we released the plastic US Marine Corps set and sprues, and so I dived on those. I got them slightly before release, thanks to Sweet Talking my boss. And just started straight away. And again, we did a kind of a tale of four gamers with a few staff, and I built 1,000 points of Marines quite quickly. And then from there, it's been about 18 months, and it's just building and building and building. I dread to think probably 6,000 points, maybe more. And again, and again, sort of picking and packing orders. You see the whole Warlord range, and say we sell something like 6,000 different products. So we sell all kinds of figures. So I kind of specialise. I'm kind of known for converting strange things. So people will come, like pickers and packers will come with miniatures and challenge me to make them into marines. So I've got things like there's a miniature from our Farmhouse Assault Napoleonic set, and there's a woman with a little baby deer. And someone brought me one and was just like, make this a marine. So I just made it into a marine with a little baby deer. So there's a weird baby deers in there. There's a squad of drunk marines in there. There's things like standard bearers that converted from old pike and shot models. There's bits from our Roman range. There's bits from our Napoleonics. Every range that we do, including like Judge Dredd, there's bits of Judge Dredd in there, which are kind of subtly in there, just bits and pieces. I just hack an arm off this model, a head off this model, whatever. Just any interesting equipment, it's in my army in some shape or form.
That's quite an eclectic mix, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, eclectic's probably the right word.
Yeah, that's.
They're not sort of particularly skillful conversions. They're very, very. It's very sort of hack and slash and kind of cobbled together, but with a bit of green stuff and a bit of creativity. They look all right. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty interesting.
Okay, well, I'll look forward to seeing that.
Yes.
Right, Pete jumped in from the comments. He's saying, Dave, there should be some Japanese uniforms in the Imperial War or the Victoria and Albert museums. I bet there's pictures of them online.
Yeah.
How they have the online and the virtual tours and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get an answer guy. Either that, or we're going to have to go on a bit of a booze cruise. Yeah, now that's perfectly
I like
fine.
the sound of the booze cruise.
Yeah,
that's great.
But it's a research trip, isn't it? It's not a booze cruise. It's a research trip.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a booze cruise on the basis that right now John McLeod's buying.
How do you know I am not?
Oh, dude. Yeah, we had to throw this hangout together, so you could.
No, start. No. See, I have proof, and I can screenshot it. You're like, yeah. We'll do this week. You can have an extra week, and I'm like, no problem here. Don't start giving me the real life passes, trying to wangle out of it. It's because you scrape through.
Because you need it though, John. You haven't been keeping up.
No, you haven't. I mean, you're way behind. We've got a whole platoon finishing everything, and anyway, you can't show any screenshots because that's against the Data Protection Act, and I'll sue you. So right now, you're buying the beers, dude. Right, Rich knows. I think you know the idea. Do you know the idea over the beers?
Is it about the Japanese proving that they didn't have green putties?
No, that's something completely different. Oh, yeah, that's between you and Dave. Yeah, yeah. It's basically this is a tale of like three gamers. Okay, and the idea was of putting the channel together was to keep us motivated to paint because we've all got all different stuff going. I've got terrain going on. Dave's a commission painter. You know, John's got lots going on. He's got a business he's starting up. And things get pushed to the side. So we thought, right, if we do it on YouTube, because we are sort of YouTubers, then we're committed because everyone sees it. You know, we can't get away from it. But if you miss the schedule, you've got to claim a real life pass. And the person who has the most real life passes, at the time, basically buys the beer. So every jolly we're going on, is a beer cruise as far as I'm concerned.
And just for those watching and waiting in anticipation, it was agreed that my week is now next week because we have special guests here today.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I've given up my week. I had more. You know, I could have been ready, but I've taken my time and stuff now. Anyway,
I need to find a brush. I need to paint these. I need to paint the chin bits.
Drink.
So what are you painting, John?
Basing at the minute.
Ah, yeah. Oh, you got the herbs out?
I have a tub of herbs.
Right, you are gluing them down with PVA, then sealing them with PVA, then doing the brown wash, yeah?
I'm just painting the base on PVA, and then I'm putting the herbs down.
Nice.
Following the list you gave.
Because if you don't seal them with PVA, mate, when you come to put the wash on, they just sort of like wash all over the place.
Yeah, it's fine.
Nice one. Right, I need a brush. Dave, you're working on your Chiha, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, I'm working on my Chiha, doing my tracks, and then I've got to chip it and scratch it and get it all muddy.
Right.
So that's going to be fun.
I didn't think they got
they green as well?
They just blew up, didn't they?
The Chiha did not just blow up. The Chiha was a great fighting vehicle. Did lots of work for the Japanese army.
Mate,
I would not have you slander it like that.
Tanks. They're paper thin, dude. I can't wait for that moment where your Chiha comes charging in, and meets the Churchill crocodile or the Matilda.
Or just hits a rock.
I wanted Chiha to drive into it and just explode, you know, the Churchill just carry on driving along. What was that? I think it was a Chiha. I hope I
Yeah,
haven't
just
scratched the paint.
keep it coming. Keep it coming. It's fine. The Chiha will reign supreme on our battlefields. Have no fear.
Right, Mr. Dando, we've got a quick question. I have a question on Build an Army, in particular the British and German Build an Army. An example is the German Army. I want to buy the Blitzkrieg Germans.
Yep.
Okay, Pete? However, the free tanks offered are late war. Is it the same with the British Expeditionary Force British? Anyway, some early war tanks could be included. So is there any chance they can get any... The dude's nodding his head, I reckon...
I mean, the Build an Army thing was a thing we put together really quite quickly. It was put together within a couple of hours. It was kind of an emergency thing. We had another idea we were working on, but it kind of got cobbled together. So we started off with these options. We're going to spread it out to different nations. We're also going to include different options and stuff. But if you want to order, like right now, the best thing to do, send us an email to info@warlordgames.com. Let us know what you want, which tank you want, and our customer service guys will get it swapped over and sorted out for you.
Nice. There we are.
That's
Sorted. A bit of technical support. Hey, a bit of customer support live on the show. We're liking that. Yeah, what shall it? This is to John. It looks like you'll be buying the keg for Mel and Dave. Yeah, mate.
Wow, so much hate already. I remember when you were announcing this, and you were
no
all
one's
just like,
no one's seen a you're not even seeing a picture of your American jet.
Yeah, well, this is all hearsay.
It's all like, oh, I'm doing bases. You haven't even seen a base. Right,
Well, raise it up to the camera. Here you are. Proof. There's my chin dip.
well, there's my Marine that I finished already to be based.
Oh.
Oh, you're just doing the command squad.
And there's my bases. No. Like, go on, get it up, yeah.
Alright. Calm down. I know you're back in Scotland now, but you know what I mean?
Hey, that's friendly banter, that is.
It is for Stoke as well.
So I'm hearing a lot about beer, and not a lot about me being included in getting the beer.
Mate, if you want to come along on one of our beer-funded trips, you feel free to bring that Warlord credit card with you. No, mate, listen. There was a mention earlier about Warlord's game day being postponed because of what's going on with the hall and the roof isn't safe and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, obviously that's out of your hands, and you know I don't want to make a drama of it or anything.
Yep.
I have to say I was actually quite pleased.
Sorry?
Painting time, doesn't it?
No, watchful. The thing is, I'm part of the WGC, and I committed to Chung, who runs it, to go and teach terrain seminars down at the GearsCon, which is that weekend, so I couldn't go. Yeah, so I was really gutted. So the fact that it's been postponed now means that we can go, that we can do the Warlord Day. So I was actually quite chuffed about that. Now, boys, are you up for that? Are you up for that being our first jolly?
Yeah.
Maybe not. I'm on holiday.
Dude, when is the next? Do we have a date for the next Warlord?
We don't yet know. All we've done so far is we've rescheduled a different event for that date. So we're having a gaming day on the 29th, but not here. The actual game day itself will be rescheduled as soon as we hear back from the hall. They've got a safe roof for us to actually shelter under.
Right.
So no date just yet.
So are we talking weeks or months or just for logistics?
I honestly don't know. From what I hear, there's a lot of work to be done. So it's out of our hands at the moment, I'm afraid.
As long as it's in like 3 weeks, like time, I'm cushy. I'm good.
That's all right, Dave. Listen, if it is in 3 weeks' time, mate, we'll take photos for you.
Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah, we'll make sure that your beer is on the table so you can see what
I'll
you're doing.
make sure I take my Japs to greets, and I'll take some pictures of myself at the beach.
Nice.
That'd be quite cool. You get the perspective right.
I'm taking some with me. I've got my little painting case to take with me.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Saying that,
mate, you've got to paint for at least an hour a day if you want to keep your hand-to-eye coordination and that. I feel anyway. I like
what
to.
do you reckon on that? Because you're a bit of a painter, aren't you?
Yeah, you do get rusty. If you take a gap, your coordination and everything does get rusty. You miss when you're painting. You're not quite so accurate. The more you do, the better you are. It's like anything, any skill. It becomes perishable.
Second nature.
Yeah.
Right, Pete's saying, thanks, Mr. Dando, with regards to the army build sets. What do you call it? Pete's also saying says the Chiha was the workhorse of the Imperial Tank Force. Was it?
Yeah.
That's obviously why the Japanese were so renowned for having a magnificent Imperial tank force.
Exactly. Yeah.
T's Creative Ramblings. T, put what your real name is, mate, because that's a bit of a mouthful. But he's saying, yeah, in John's defence, the Americans didn't turn up till late 41.
Well,
The Japs didn't invade till late 41.
Right, Garrison's saying, do a search for Resistant Roosters Japanese painting guides with regards to those putties.
is that for or against the...
I don't know, you see. I think Puttygate will go on for quite a while until we actually end up in the Imperial War Museum standing in front of one. And I can guarantee, yeah, knowing our luck, when we get there, yeah, we'll have one guy who's got khaki ones and one guy who's got green ones.
And there's a draw. We both just get a beer and a biscuit.
Biscuit. It wasn't a beer and a biscuit. It was just biscuits.
Look, I mean, let's be honest. Yeah, we are integrating biscuits into this little adventure because you can't have an adventure without biscuits.
As long as you have to eat bully beef that's been left out in the sun for days, it's liquid.
Mate, I will do that, and not only that, yeah, I will bring you some bamboo.
I'll eat bamboo shoots all day long, my friend. I'll chop up some lizards and put that in there, make a nice stew.
No, man, I'm not talking watchlet. I've got a lovely watchlet chair up in the bedroom. No, actually,
I'll make a spear out of it for you.
I'll tell you what I will try and get hold of. Biscuits Brown.
Biscuits Brown, yeah, I don't think they make them anymore because they changed all the ration packs.
I'm sure you can get hold of. Look, I'm telling you, there's going to be some packs floating around somewhere. Those things last for like.
The ones I was eating were issued in 1953.
Mate, I swear to God, yeah, I remember eating cheese once on X with what you call it. Oh, just so you know, yeah. Me and Mike, we used to serve together. That's why we're friends. You know, we've known each other a long time. Yeah, he was a Rupert, but we forgive him. Yeah, but yeah, biscuits. But I swear to God, yeah, I was eating some cheese. Yeah, that it had Crimea War on it. No, Korea War, not Crimea. Korea. Crimea is pushing it a bit with regard to the date line, but I swear it had Korea written on it.
So I'm guessing that there's already been some discussion in the office at Warlord about future potential variants for bolt action. Are there any thoughts about a modern version, or Vietnam era, or anything like that? Korea?
There's been discussion every now and then. It keeps being brought up by customers, by fans, once every few weeks or so. It's something that would be quite interesting. Again, we can see it would really work in 28mm. But at the moment, no immediate plans. Nothing on the release schedule that I can see. Obviously, February, March time, we've got Conflict 47, which is the kind of weird war with walkers, bits and pieces coming out with Clockwork Goblin, which is going to be a little bit crazy. I've seen a few bits and pieces so far. I've seen a few sneaky peeks at rulebooks and bits and pieces, and it's looking rather nice. But yeah, Vietnam, Korea, that kind of thing. No plans just yet.
The weird war. They're going to be zombies and werewolves and vampires and the like.
I've seen walkers so far. I've heard talk of zombies, but I mean, from what I hear, we're trying to cover as many bases as possible. So yeah, I've seen walkers. I've heard talk of zombies, but I haven't seen an awful lot of other bits and pieces.
Cool.
Now, from my personal curiosity, yeah. Now, obviously, you've got Bolt Action Pacific Theatre coming up relatively soon, haven't you?
Very relatively soon, yes.
Yeah. Now, so obviously, I'm imagining there's going to be releases to support that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So now, obviously, from the Chindit side, yeah, am I going to get a naked Ord Wingate?
Not from the multiplayer.
Not from us.
I swear I am going to convert that guy. Yeah. If anyone, right, I'm sorry if we're chatting and I'm not doing a brilliant job of keeping up with the comments, so I'll have a quick scroll through in a minute, guys. Yeah.
I'm watching. Sorry.
Just for the people who are watching, if you don't get that comment, well, the commander of the Chindits, yeah, he had a bit of a habit. He liked being naked, like completely naked. And my most favourite quote, yeah, about him was he liked to issue orders to his officers naked, yeah, whilst combing his pubic hair, yeah, with a toothbrush. Not necessarily his toothbrush.
Nasty.
Is that not normal?
Mate,
And
do
he
you know
loved
what?
onions.
If you think about the class system, yeah, and the way the military worked in World War II, you know, the higher ranks, they were the people with names and that sort of stuff. And the English sort of hierarchy have always been known for their sort of eccentric behaviour. And I can see it just being one of those things that, you know, they just accept. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about Uncle Rupert and him riding the horses naked round the estate. So yeah, I am going to convert that model.
I mean, if you wanted to convert him, I can suggest miniatures to do it, because we do naked guys in our Celt range.
Oh, mate, you're gonna, yeah.
Make it happen.
It'd only be a head swap, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And watch a bit of green stuff for a toothbrush.
Yeah. I can make the dream come true.
Make the dream come true. Do you know what? The more I read about him, because I mean, obviously we've all been sort of like reading and watching documentaries and stuff. The more I read about him, the more I like the guy. I've got to say. You know, Churchill said, but when he died, Churchill said he was a man who was destined for greatness. I mean, Churchill wanted him to run the entire Pacific theatre of operations, take over from General Waverley and run the whole lot. Yeah, which would have been great, because you can imagine him in high command walking around with that big sort of pliff hat, yeah, and a toothbrush. Nothing else. Right, let's have a look at the comments.
You've got people want to know where the Frazzles and Jaffa cakes are. That's directed specifically at you. They were discussing the Americans joining the war a bit earlier by volunteering in the British Army. And you, yeah, carry on.
No, you finish, dude. Let me catch up with the comments and I'll jump back in. You chat, dude. Sorry.
No, I am. I'm reciting the comments.
Oh, right, you're reading the comments, aren't you?
Yeah.
Come on, Mel.
His name is Carl.
So who's going to be comment monkey?
John's always
I
been
don't mind doing it. It seems to be like my default role, isn't it?
Right, John, are you playing comment monkey then?
Yeah.
All right then. Well, I'll keep an eye on him as well.
Sean's saying, so he's not a gamer and have no clue what you're talking about. I'm a scale modeler, just picking up tips and tricks for the craft. What are these figures you're all painting?
So these figures are historical 28mm.
They are 28mm. They're not heroic 28 or anything like that, are they?
No, not heroic. They're historical.
Yeah.
Specifically related to the Pacific Theatre. So I'm doing US Marines with a tie-in to Merrill's Marauders.
Yeah.
Mel is doing... Well, I'll let each of you talk about your own stuff.
All right, Dave, what are you doing?
I'm doing Japanese Imperial Army. I'm working on a Chiha, which is a light tank for the Japanese.
Paper bag.
Paper thin. It's like a paper craft vehicle, to be honest, but it's going to be the pride and joy so far of the army. And Mel?
Well, first off, if I can find a paper craft template for what you call it for a Chiha tank, I'm going to find a printer you can print it out 1-to-1 scale.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm working on my Chindits. Pete did comment earlier that shouldn't the Chindits have been emaciated, and I've got to say these models they do look like thin guys, mate. They really do. They're not bulky guys. You know what I mean? Like some of the other models. I mean, none of the models are overly bulky. We're not talking catechins here, you know, but they do, and I quite like them because the clothes are ragged. They look like they've been through the mill. You know what I mean?
They're very nice sculpts, actually.
They are, aren't they? I mean, they've got beards and everything, so, you know, you're talking end of campaign, that sort of stuff. Now, we were talking about this earlier. Yeah. Now the Chindits isn't particularly a popular model range. It's not one you see on Facebook that much. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Partly because, quite disappointingly, the Far East is forgotten in our mind. They called them the Forgotten Army, and they weren't kidding, because even nowadays, we think of World War II and we immediately think of Hitler and the European and D-Day and the campaign and Band of Brothers. Yeah, we very rarely think about the Pacific Theatre because it was no threat to us. Yeah, and because of that, yeah, there isn't the sort of drive to collect Pacific Theatre. Yeah, because it's not what it's not in the films we watch. Do you know what I mean? It's not what our mates are talking about. Which means not many people have bought these Chindit models, yeah, compared to the other ranges. Which I'm guessing means that the molds are a lot sharper, yeah, because the details on these are crisp as hell. Yeah. So, Rich, am I sort of roughly along the? Because I mean, when you use molds a little bit over time, they do. You know what I mean? So, is that sort of right? Am I on the right lines there?
I can see your logic, but molds will run out. Molds run out really, really quite quickly. So we replace molds. We replace molds pretty much constantly. So,
really? So how many castings will a mold last?
Off the top of my head, I'm not certain. But again, it depends on the mold. If it's really intricate and it's really fiddly, then it'll run out a lot quicker. If it's quite bulky items and quite chunky figures, quite chunky cargo and that kind of thing, then it'll last a lot quicker. It depends massively on the sort of intricacy of the model. But I mean, we get cases where we make a fresh mold, a brand new mold, a brand new figure, and it won't cast. We remake it straight away without even actually using it for production. So yeah, molds go down all the time. So it could be that it only gets cast 30 times before getting replaced. So they don't last years.
I was always under the impression that they lasted years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you made a mold, and essentially, once the mold was made, until it fell apart or something, you were good to go for years. I never realised it was that quick.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're putting in like 300, 400 degree metal in there, so it heats up very quickly. And also, you get things like, to get the metal out, you have to really bend the silicon mold quite dramatically sometimes. So again, they kind of just literally snap. It really does vary massively. But again, so we're constantly replacing molds. We've got 2 mold makers on the team at the moment who work full time. So they're working 40 hours a week just making molds and repairing molds and remaking molds constantly. So it's
not.
Just quickly, you're echoing both.
Am I? Let me turn my sound down a little. There we go. I'll drop that my sound. Is that a bit better?
What's happening? I didn't see that.
A little bit. You can see the whole action thing sort of bouncing when I'm talking. I don't know how it is for the viewers, but I can certainly hear it coming through.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Right. I may have to switch over to headphones, which will make it a little bit difficult for me and you to listen in. Yeah, let's see how we go. Yeah, and if it becomes an issue, yeah, then I'll throw some headphones on and we'll have to share an earphone each. We like 2 teenage girls, dude.
Yeah.
We can giggle.
Brain's actually asked a question.
Mature tag. Told you before.
He's saying, is there a plastic M3, M8, or M18 on the horizon? I keep hoping for them.
Short answer, no. There's nothing on the release schedule at the moment of Plastic M3, but we are producing a plastic vehicle every month for the tail area at the moment. And our plan is in the next year or so to cover kind of all of the core tanks, all the key vehicles. Obviously, you can go as far as you want to making vehicles. We make 200, maybe more, different vehicles in resins and stuff at the moment. So the amount of different variants you can do is pretty much endless. But plastics-wise, we're going to try and cover all the key players, all the sort of tanks that you immediately think of, which would include things like trucks, and again, we already do the Hanamag, and yeah, it's not release scheduled at the moment, which I've got up until probably the middle of next year, but it's coming. It's just a case of when it will be.
Well, while we're talking about models, can you give us any sneaky previews of anything coming up for the Japanese?
Well, I was in the studio today, and there are some guns coming for the Japanese. Some artillery coming. There's an anti-tank gun coming. There's talk of bamboo fighters being made, but again, time frame wise, I'm not sure on those. But again,
that's fine. I'm going to convert some more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then vehicles wise, we showed a picture off of one of the upcoming vehicles, which is an engineering tank, which has got 5 flamethrowers. And vehicle flamethrowers in the game, vehicle flamethrowers are one of the most controversial things because they're so powerful, and this thing's got 5 of them. So that's going to be an interesting one. And I believe it used to, at some point in the Pacific, it had big sort of claws and grabbers, and it used to drive forwards and kind of grab anti-tank obstacles and just pluck them out of the way, and then go through just with flamethrowers everywhere and just purge. So that'll be an interesting one. Seeing the rules for that will be very interesting, and I'm sure we'll get some great comments from the community. But that's a particularly interesting one.
I'm sold. I'm sold.
Yeah.
I win.
That is British, right?
I'm afraid not, no. Brit-wise, I can't say I've seen anything recently for the Brits. And there's a few interesting bits coming from the Marines. We do donkeys for the Chindits. We already do donkeys for the Chindits if you want those.
The mules. For them, first off.
There are rules for them. There may be rules for them in the Pacific book that's coming out.
That's exclusive.
Rules for mules?
There may be.
Yes, you have made my night, sir.
I'm going to have to learn how to paint mules now.
I see your crocodile tank, Mr. Bose. And yes.
Yeah, you can laugh, sir, but you're forgetting one vital thing.
Go on.
I'm the one building the terrain board, and we'll be battling in a swamp.
That's perfectly fine. I'll pick you out of the water and then burn you.
You're a bad man, Dave.
What about plastic Waffen SS? Anywhere on the horizon?
Not that I've seen. The recently released German Grenadiers can be used as SS with a little bit of artistic license. And I've seen lots of great stuff with those, particularly people like Andy Singleton from Volleyfire Paintings done some great SS with them. So they're kind of quite a multi-purpose kit. Obviously we've got the plastic Fallschirmjäger, which are coming out very soon, which will be great. And again, I've actually got one of the sprues of the Fallschirmjäger right here. So again, packed with options. There's all sorts of bits and pieces on there, but SS-wise, I haven't seen anything at the moment.
If there's FG4. Are there FG42s on there?
There are, yes.
How many?
Few.
You're going to see thousands.
So here's a question for you. Yeah.
Go for it.
Right, or a general sort of question. Right, Chindits were an infantry force. Yeah, supported by air support and artillery. Yeah, so I'm sort of like, I'm sort of conflicted between going historical and keeping them as an infantry force, or going slightly off the sort of timeline tangent. Yeah, and somehow the Chindits getting armor. So how do I sort of justify armor in an infantry force that's flown in by glider?
It's the same way as the German players that win tournaments justifying not having a single LMG and having 4 MP44s per squad.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, bolt action is we don't get massively brought up on the history of things. Obviously, you can go very historical, it's very firmly to how it actually was in real life, or you can go the opposite direction and just go, you know, tournament-wise, you can go all assault rifles, you can go all flamethrowers, you can do that kind of thing. So, from our point of view, I mean, from Warlord staff-wise, everyone here collects just for the fun. I mean, there's a couple of tournament gamers here. There's the majority of us are kind of narrative gamers. We like to build a force, and then someone builds kind of an opposing force. So I built my Marines. We had 2 guys from the mail order build 2 Japanese armies to face me. So there's a lot of kind of banter and lots of kind of contest between each other, as opposed to getting massively like bogged down in the history. Obviously, we try and do bits of research here and there to make sure it's not massively off kilter. But yeah, I mean, we don't like to get massively bogged down. And again, if you go to things like the Facebook groups of Bolt Action, again, you know, you get history buffs, you get people who know, you know, how many buttons were on this shirt, how many buttons were on that shirt. But at the same time, the majority of the overall sort of feeling is that everyone kind of games for fun, and it's very sort of light-hearted and very, again, quite banter-orientated. So you can go majorly historical, you can go entirely the other way. It's entirely up to you, really. As long as you have fun, that's kind of the main thing for us.
The news on the Japanese artillery is going down well.
Cool, nice.
And raise that Churchill crocodile with 2 suicide squads, Dave.
I will do, thank you very much. I will be after some suicide squads eventually.
Bill says make a dice roll with to see if the mule will walk when you want him to.
Nice.
On the animal handling skills,
Nice.
Is that part of the upcoming rules, maybe? Brain's getting tempted to do Hydra-themed Nazis for
Nice,
action.
nice. Yep.
I'm just going to call you Lord Tattoo, because I'm not even going to try and pronounce the second part of that name. Mel, you need some Gurkhas in the force. I believe that's actually planned.
Yes, he does have some Gurkhas. He plans to take out my Chief of Gurkhas.
And Mel, you should see if there's any crossover with the Chindits and the 1st Provisional Tank Group. There's certainly some for my army, so
What we found
that's
mostly,
how I justify it.
what I've really found since I got into Bolt Action a couple of years ago now is that there's pretty much a case for everything happening anywhere. Things like, people always ask about looted tanks, about did the Soviets loot this German tank, that German tank. There's pretty much, somewhere online somewhere you'll find a reference to just about anything happening, just about any tank being looted by any different force, just about any mixture of forces, mixture of armoured groups, infantry groups and stuff like that. That if you research hard enough and you check your sources, there's pretty much always an account of just about anything happening anywhere.
I don't know if anyone would want to
Because
do jihad.
stuff happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't just all clean cut. Stuff did happen.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
All the randomness of war. I am so stoked for that flamethrower tank.
It does look absolutely crazy. I say we've put a picture on our Instagram feed, which
I'm gonna have to join Instagram.
It's just yeah. Again, as a Marine player, just dreading it. And again, I haven't seen the rules for it yet, so yeah, not looking forward to that one.
I'm gonna have to get a box of Chindits and just paint them up on fire.
I have to say, it's slightly off topic. I mean, the Bolt Action's probably one of the first. No, not one of the first, but I've come from like a 40k background, pretty much. So, first time I took the Bolt Action sprues out, I was just like, wow, there is like options galore. There's so much stuff on the sprues. It's like usually you maybe get like a few little options with the 40k stuff, but then
Yeah.
the Bolt Action stuff, it's crazy the amount of options you've got, and like there's a fair bit.
Anyway, Mel.
Yes, and again, we're really learning as well. I mean, if you go back to some of our early sprues, our German infantry, our American infantry, even like the British infantry, some of the early releases, you'll find that a lot of the arms are separate from the weapons, so you have to glue the rifle into the arms exactly in the right place, otherwise it looks a bit awkward. Whereas what we found from the community is they found that was a bit too fiddly for them. It was a bit too much work. So what we've done with the more recent kits, with the Marine kit, with the German Grenadiers, German Fallschirmjäger as well, is we've put some of the guns into the hands already, so you don't have to do that really, really fiddly work. So yeah, again, I mean, we're still learning as we go. I mean, we are 7-8 years old now, but we listen to the community. We're massively into hearing what you guys think, getting feedback from you guys, because again, you guys are the ones using our kits, so whatever you guys say, we pay attention to. We're watching the forums, watching Facebook, watching Twitter, watching Instagram all the time, and taking anything you say on board and trying to do whatever we can to keep you guys happy, really. And again, you'll see the evolution. Again, with things like the tanks, people were asking for tank commanders on plastic tanks, so we then introduced that for the next tank kits, and we're doing that going forward. So again, we listen to you guys more than you'd imagine. Not in a creepy way.
Good to hear.
I was just gonna say, we are watching
Yeah,
you,
it's me.
Big Brother.
Right. We have unmuted myself now. As you can see, Me and Mike are being a pair of teenage girls with, we're sharing headphones. But hopefully that should sort the
Just with
echo
less
issue,
hair.
guys. Yeah.
Looks romantic. Nice.
Cheers. Let's see what our legs are doing.
There we go. Right, all sorted.
Bill says, how about the Chindits trying to retrieve Churchill that the Japanese have captured?
That could be a good one. I'll tell you one thing I am looking forward to doing, is I want to do White City, as a part of the game board.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you see, all of us are sort of like, yeah, but Mr. Rich is there sort of like, what's that?
No.
White City was one of the base camps that the Chindits sort of fortified in the middle of the jungle. And the reason it was called White City is they obviously parachuted in all their supplies. So the trees were filled of parachutes. And so it was White City. And I just thought as a table, as a visual piece with all the greens and the lush, all those parachutes hanging down would just look really good. Yeah. Also, it would give me defensive bunkers from which to kill Dave from.
But then, 5 flamethrowers rolling on one tank.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's alright.
I've
The bazooka would do the same to that tank as any other tank.
Mate, if it isn't in the history books, he's not having it as far as I'm concerned. If I've got to have mules, he can't have a 5 flamethrower tank.
I've got 6 mortars, now you'll be alright.
6 mortars.
It seems one thing, though, doesn't it? If all the Chindits were emaciated and they all had mules must taste revolting, or they'd have eaten them all.
They did actually say that there's nothing tougher than mule steak. Yeah. But then again, I imagine you've got to be quite knackered by the time that you're willing to eat what's carrying all the heavy stuff.
Yeah. Soldiers like they'd have abandoned it, lost it.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times have you done that?
They've got a way of dealing with things in the military. I've got blisters, sir. Have you signed for them?
Mate, we lost a £7 million signals wagon once in a swamp in Germany. Literally went off to the, I didn't, some lads from my unit went off to the bar. By the time they got back, all they could see was the top of the 40-foot mast sticking out the swamp.
Hope they got put in jail for that.
I don't think the army ever found out. I think they rebuilt it out of parts. Somewhere in Germany, there's a £7.5 million. Obviously redundant because they've moved on in technology since then. But
did anyone see there's YouTube video of a T-34 that the Germans have captured? It might have been Finnish actually, looking at the style of the crosses on it. But they pulled out of a swamp and they hosed it down, put batteries in it, changed the oil, and started it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think
Hello, mate.
Like 40, 50 years.
See you, mate.
Where are you going to, by the way?
Did
Enjoy.
they recently find like a tiger in some man's like garage in Germany? Just a tiger.
No, it was his basement, wasn't it?
Yeah, they found a panther in
Yeah,
someone's
basement. That's it. Yeah.
Wow.
How did you get it down there?
It's a bit like the boat off off NCIS. The guy Gibbs who builds his boat in the.
Apparently, there's a Panzer IV with a short 75mm in the Golan Heights, and it's in a sort of contested area. And it was spotted by either a war gamer or a military historian on some of the Israeli aerial photography, and it's just sat in a bunker there, abandoned. And they're quite interested in getting hold of it because it's in a nice, dry, warm environment. They think it might be in quite good nick, but
Actually, it wouldn't rust, would it?
no. There's lots of stuff in Iraq as well. Lots of World War II stuff, crocodiles and things.
Really?
Yeah, Saddam had loads of them.
Yeah, I suppose
Go on now.
Well, I mean, I know what goes on in Europe with the war and what went on. I'm sort of getting an idea of what went on, sort of Pacific-wise as we're doing this sort of jolly. But then you've got that other sort of like everything that went on sort of underneath and coming up to sort of India and the Pacific and that sort of stuff, which is like the Middle East. And that's still sort of like a complete mystery. I mean, other than the desert rats and the fact that, Rommel was there was a big tank battle. Yeah, I know and the SAS were running around, And also Wingate learned his long range patrol stuff. He developed that in the Sudan. Yeah. And he developed that with the SAS. That actually just raises a quick point. Rich, any news on the Sir Christopher Lee model?
How did you hear about that?
It was my suggestion, mate.
It was his suggestion, yeah.
Maybe.
Good. I mean,
maybe.
Paul just said leave it with you, you know, and it was sort of said if we can do it, we will do it. So I was just wondering, you know. Obviously, something's gone on, so I won't ask you anymore. I'm just very pleased about that. But can I have him with the head swap, please, so I can put a Chindit head on him?
I'll see what I can do. But yeah, I've heard murmurings and talk about the office with regards to a Christopher Lee model. But obviously, you didn't hear that. But yes, that might be a thing.
That's good, mate. That's good. And I think it'd be a cracking model because he was a wargamer and everything, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, what's better? Count Dooku leading my Chindit force.
Yeah, it works. It's not historically correct, but neither's the flamethrower tank. Your tank can raise you a lightsaber.
There, Dave. If you know what, when they bring it out, I'm going to get one and I'm going to give him a lightsaber.
I'm working on a Indiana Jones project with Bolt Action. As a fun side, not an official thing, obviously.
Yeah.
But with Brian from Tempest Crusade 01 on YouTube.
Brian, I know him.
He's doing Africa Corps. And,
yeah, I've seen models. He had a video this Wednesday, didn't he?
He
where
did,
he was showing them off. They look lovely.
Yeah, and he's doing a few specialist bits and pieces, shall we say. And then I'm going to be converting Indiana Jones and a few other bits and pieces, and we're going to see what happens, really, to be honest. We've sort of spoken to Alessio about, kit bashing some rules together, throwing some stuff together for us. So, yeah, could be cool.
If you're looking for one, Castaway Arts do a 28mm Ark of the Covenant.
Nice.
I've got one in my Israeli DBA army.
Right, there was a question about second edition Bolt Action.
Yeah.
Will it include? Oh, is that right? Will it include the warplanes? And then I'll leave John with the rest of the questions because he's obviously up to speed.
Warplanes.
Warplane rules.
There are some optional rules for warplanes at the moment, which is on our website, but they're not designed as a competitive edition. They're not a must-have piece of rules. So, really good English. So they're kind of designed as a fun edition. If you want to have a go at them, you can, but it's not sort of gospel. And Alessio's always sort of said that they're there for fun. They're not particularly something he wants to introduce long-term with Bolt Action. Obviously, we have artillery bombardments and forward observers, that kind of thing, which kind of represents the effects of planes. But as far as I know, there aren't plans to include them. But again, I sit down here in mail order, in direct only. There's a studio upstairs where they deal with official rules and bits and pieces and all the casting and all the sculpting, and all that kind of thing. So there may be things upstairs, I'm not sure.
Right. Bill's asking, did the Japanese ever even have any handheld anti-tank weapons? I don't recall any.
And mine on the end of a bamboo stick.
Yeah,
With
they
an
did
idiot
look
on the other
like.
end.
Yeah.
I have seen that actually.
They had
The
a
tank
tank rifle,
hunters.
but it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
It was more like a bigger gun than an anti-tank gun. It's more like an elephant gun than anything else.
But yeah, they had lunge mines. They had sort of like plate mines, like the German Tellermine. They had sort of similar things to that, I believe. And again, they were sort of quite well known for booby traps and for that kind of thing. So I'm not sure if they would have sort of laid explosives down and tanks run over them kind of thing. But I'm not sure handheld wise.
They put a man in a hole with the explosive, and when it came, the man would.
Yeah, lovely thought. Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Like a cherry blossom.
Now, talking about other models, I know Dave's quite keen to get a certain character.
Go on.
My namesake. Do you know the story about my great uncle Subhas?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'm intrigued by this. I've heard you've been very coy and very standoffish about this recently.
Go on. Since it's our inaugural show, I'll throw this out there, and I'm literally sort of okay, guys. Remember, I've never met the guy. I don't know him.
This is getting better. I like it.
Well, basically, when the Japanese invaded Burma, Okay, they came through Thailand, yeah, and they've got a treaty with Thailand. So they came en masse quite easily, quite quickly. Yeah, and... Oh, yeah, thank you, baby. And when they came through, yeah, they captured a lot of Indian Nationals troops, which were part of the... Well, they captured a lot of British Indian troops from the British Indian Army. Yeah, now... They were turned to fight for the Japanese, yeah, by a distant relative of mine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Now, he turned, I think it was about 30 or 40,000 of them. Now, this guy, for you guys who don't know, yeah, my adoptive sort of dad is Indian. Yeah, my name's Mel Bose. My surname is an Indian name. Bose is an Indian name. So as I was doing the research for my Chindits, I come across their most hated character. Yeah. Now, obviously, you know, when things like this come up, you raise it with your dad. So I went to see Father, who is a little Indian guy. You know, he's a great guy. Worked for Rolls-Royce for donkey's years. You know, absolutely brilliant. Obviously, he's my dad. Of course, he's a great guy. Yeah, but the moment I mentioned this guy, yeah, my dad started panicking like he was going to get deported or something. I mean, he's lived here his entire life. After he got his degree, you know, he went to work for BMW in Germany, and then he got pulled over to work for Rolls-Royce. But he's been here all his entire life, and he started getting very worried. Yeah, and he said, no, very distant relative, very distant relative. Our family has nothing to do with him because he was a fascist. Yeah, this guy was. He was friends with Hitler and stuff like that.
Good God, as long as he's better than the Queen.
Shh. We don't talk about the Queen. I've got the Queen for him.
Am I going to have to worry about your Chindits jumping over and allying with Dave?
Well, the thing is, what's got it? Just to finish the story off, you know, obviously, you know, I'm talking to it about my dad, yeah, my brother comes along. Now, my brother's, you know, he's older than I am, you know, so he's brought his kids along to go, you know, I think it was Father's Day or something like that, but we've gone across. And he sort of heard in this sort of conversation, and our family home in India, where, you know, the majority of our family is sort of a communal home, like, you know, a big place with a courtyard, and everyone's got their own little bit of it, yeah, and, yeah, my brother pointed out, yeah, that in Shamnagar, where the house is, yeah, there's a whocking great memorial park to this bloke, right outside the front doors, yeah, and it's just down the road from the national airport of Bangladesh, yeah, which is named after him. Yeah, they still love him over there. Yeah, so it's become a bit of a family issue now. When, you know, I come from, you know, obviously I've served, like Mike has, and, you know, so when I thought about taking on Chindits, you know, my first thought was I'll contact the Chindit Association and see if there's any Chindits in the area, yeah, to go and talk to them. You know, just go and have a natter, have a brew. Oh, drop me a headphone. Let me grab that.
On this.
Yeah. 1 second. So obviously, yeah, I thought I'll nip down, you know, I'll find out. Yeah, I've decided not to, because if they find out the surname, can you imagine me barreling up? My great-uncle, you know, great-great-uncle Subas probably killed their mate.
It'd be about as popular as Windows.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my that's my name shame. Yeah, that's why Dave's quite keen to get this army and that character.
I would like me an uncle.
Oh, I'm sure I've got a family photo of him, you know, with me dad in it.
Which is why you cannot say Sir Mel.
Sir Mel, yeah. I will never be knighthood. It's never going to happen.
Oh.
All right, I've been rabbiting on. Have we got any comments, John, or have we just been chatting?
There's a few. Yeah, no, there's a few. Okay, Brain wants to know, I'm wondering how long it will be before Priestley tries to give everyone explosive collars on Hot Action.
Imperial Guard, when they first came out, they had the suicide squads, didn't they? With the collars.
Yeah.
You couldn't get away with that now, could you?
Dave, maybe you could call in a naval bombardment against the Chindits?
Ooh. That's sneaky, because, I mean, it's interesting because in the first sort of Chindit campaign, yeah, you probably could have given them a kicking, but by the time the second one and they teamed up with the US,
Yeah.
the amount of artillery and air support. I mean, I found out a load of interesting facts. Yeah, the Chindits pioneered air-to-ground support. Yeah, they developed it from scratch using coloured smoke mortars. Yeah. The Chindits were the first, to do a right, okay. They flew in by gliders.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they flew out by gliders as well. Yeah, basically, they got a glider and they were supported by one air commando, which was there's a cracking story about them, I'll tell you. Yeah, but they came up with this way of getting the gliders back off, and that was basically by sticking a hook, like a loop or a wire, between two balloons hanging up with a wire coming back down to the gliders, yeah, and then basically flying along and picking it up with the Dakota and literally ripping it off the ground. And it was described as if you were in the Dakota, it was like hitting the brakes in an aeroplane, yeah. Yeah, but one of my best stories that I've sort of seen about it so far was the very first time they did it. No, it never occurred to them, yeah, to put seatbelts in the glider. Yeah, so obviously as this glider went up, you know what gliders are like on the inside? They're long and thin with benches down the side. Yeah, they described this glider for most of the takeoff dangling under the Dakota, not gliding, because everyone was basically slid down it at takeoff, and it was just a dumbweight at the back. Yeah,
Oh, God.
but they pioneered that technique as well. Yeah, they were the first ones to use helicopters. Yeah, for the Allied forces. Yeah, the first military use of a helicopter by Allied forces was by one air commando to rescue a downed US Air Force pilot and 2 Chindits from the Burmese jungle. Do you want to? Nah, do the comments, dude, because you know me, I ramble forever with these stories.
No, mate, I'm just letting you use up all your next video material. You're on for the video.
Well, you see, ironically, you can laugh at that. Ironically, you can laugh at that, mate. Yeah, but one air commando or a US force, so I'm using up your video material.
Oh, I've got plenty of friends. But okay, hang on. Cool songs. Then, how much do you get you two to have a kiss, mate? I'm assuming that would be you two at the boat's house. Is that because you're sharing headphones and being all girly? I don't know. Brain saying Hitler. Hang on, where is it? I've lost it. One of the bad reasons to be left-handed. It was words to that effect. Sorry, one of the few reasons why it's a bad thing to be left-handed. My screen kind of jumped up there. And he ruined toothbrush mustaches. Okay.
He didn't use his own.
Suicide Squad looks awesome. Is that a reference to the film, or are we still on something else there?
I think we're talking about Japs, suicide Japs for taking out the armour.
The Pacific region is boring due to lack of Belgians.
92d6 is here.
Casey saying only army that explosive collars would be okay in would be orcs with putting collars on the grots. 40k reference there.
Yeah.
Or Steeler Colts brains chipping in. Mel, will you be doing any foxhole or bunker terrain for your Burma build?
Oh, hell yeah. And we do all sorts of terrain. We do every terrain. No, at the end of the day, guys, the way I see it is we're going to be playing this for the next year or two at least, aren't we? With the amount of effort we're putting into armies and stuff like that. And obviously the channel, we haven't set this up for just for like a couple of weeks jolly. Yeah. So I don't see any reason why, we can't sort of like just keep adding to the terrain set. You know what I mean? What I'll do is I'll make the boards modular, but I'll make all the set pieces to fit on the boards. Yeah, so we can sort of have fully featured boards with regards to the ground cover and the tracks and the streams. but all the actual jungles and the bunkers, or perhaps the towns, can be sort of placeable pieces. Yeah, so we can swap it out and get a bit of both worlds.
Just to interject, if anyone's interested in reading material, when I'm doing a project, I tend to immerse myself or watch films about that particular theatre or read about it, etc. There's a really, really good book about the 14th Army, written by the guy that wrote the Flashman stories, a fella called George MacDonald Fraser, and it's called Quartered Safe Out Here. It's a really, really good read. But be warned, a lot of the troops out there were from Northumbria and Geordies, and he actually writes phonetically, so it's quite difficult to actually understand some of the dialect. But it's a very, very good book with a really, really good account. And one of the things he says was describing an argument he had after the war, when someone said that the Japanese were on the verge of surrender, and the atomic bomb should never have been dropped. And he said that he was in Burma in 44, I think, and this Japanese guy with no ammunition, nothing but a loincloth and a spear, came flying out of a bush and attacked him, and he was absolutely furious. And he said he wasn't ready to surrender, and he didn't think any of the others were. So he always said that the bomb was a good idea.
Wasn't the bomb a way for the Japanese to actually surrender?
One of the conspiracy theories is that the Japanese were seeking an honourable way to surrender because the only nation that had the manpower to invade the Japanese homelands was the Russians, and they were on the way down to Manchuria. And it's just a conspiracy theory on the internet. You can find conspiracy theories for anything. But essentially it says that the Japanese encouraged them to drop it to give them something they couldn't fight back against, so they could endure the unendurable, as they put it, and surrender. Been interesting viewing
since the first bomb.
It'd been interesting viewing the Pacific if the Russians had invaded and taken the Japanese homelands. We'd never got them back.
No.
And our TVs and bloody microwaves would have been crap, wouldn't they?
You wouldn't get Mitsubishi or Honda, you'd have Skoda.
Skoda. Oh God, it's blown up again.
Well, you see, I mean, we're all talking about Russians and all this sort of stuff, but I mean, there's been no mention of the Chinese, which was a massive workhorse in the area.
No one does them. Copplestone castings do some nice Chinese that you can use. And you get Panzer IIs from Warlord that they had.
Well, that was one of the main things about the Chindits, wasn't it? To reopen the old Burma Road so the Allies could supply the Chinese and get them in the fight. You know, they weren't bothered about sort of conquering the bottom of Burma as long as they could get the Chinese in the fight, because they had like millions of men and no guns or ammo or clothes in some cases, because they were all peasant farmers. You know, I mean, China at the time was a peasant country.
That's what
some of the sorry, mate. Carry on.
No, go on, dude.
No, I was just going to say some of the tie-ins with Marauders is about the first provisional tank group, and that's like American-China collab. Like you said, they had all the men. They didn't have like the equipment and the vehicles and things like that. So it's like a combined group, if you like.
There's an obvious question for Warlord there, isn't there? Any plans?
Again, there may be lots of Chinese bits and pieces in the book. There may be plans for Chinese in the future. I know certainly, I mean, already I've seen people convert Chinese from the Japanese kits with Russian weaponry and bits and pieces, because essentially, from what I understand, they basically use Russian weaponry and whatever they can find. So there's some American weaponry in there as well, and there's all sorts of bits and pieces.
Was German. A lot of they had German helmets and broom-handled Mausers and things like that. It'd be easy to swap them with German and Japanese.
Yeah.
Oh, do you fancy getting in on the Chinese side?
Just thinking about the numbers I'd have to paint. They'd probably get 10 free squads.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, you can paint like nobody's business. I mean, with no offence, you can paint an army, and the time it takes me to paint a guy.
Could do. I'd be interested in doing Chinese.
That could be cool. Ooh, Taylor 4 gamers. If that's alright with you guys, obviously.
I don't mind.
As long as
he's just another person who could potentially buy. Yeah. The one thing we'll have to accept is the fact that he's never going to have to buy the beer at the rate he paints.
It's not about how much you paint, though, is it? It's the contributions to the channel.
Yeah, it's about what you paint, mate. If you miss your deadline, you're buying the beer. Don't be on about his contribution. Don't think you can turn up with a video telling us about what the US did.
No.
You back out, boy.
I'm not backing out. I'm saying.
Yeah, here you are. Don't think doing the comments counts either.
I'm not I'm painting whilst I'm doing the comments. I'm
thought you were
saying
doing bases.
the bases are drying. How can I do them once they're drying?
How
Calm
you
down,
paint your
base.
bases? You pre-painted.
You're talking about John?
Two colours in a wash. No, what I'm saying is the beer buying is based on you keeping up with your contributions to the channel,
There you
i.e.
go.
you sticking to your weekly uploads.
I don't know why he's so defensive. He's got 2 squads of painted chindits and an officer here. Or a Rupert.
I know.
Right, we've just had a quick comment sort of asking how long's the show going on. Is everyone alright for about another 20 minutes and we'll knock on the head of 10?
I'm alright.
Yeah?
Yep. Yeah.
Alright, so guys,
Yeah.
so we're going to crack on for another 20 minutes and then we'll knock on the head. Because obviously, Dave's got kids, John needs his beauty sleep, Rich is obviously very busy, with lots of secrets from Warlord that he's not sharing with us because he's a bit of a git. Look at that smug
All the
man.
secrets. All of the secrets.
He's only shared the best
You
secret.
know what?
The only
I
secret
bet
he needed sharing.
left and right of him is loads of stuff that
Yeah.
we're all, it's,
3 ups of plastic SS and Chinese and all sorts.
yeah, I bet there's all sorts, and he's like, no, you're not in it.
Those plastic donkeys.
We're going to have to call him the Warlord Tees from now on.
Nice.
He'll give you a little, just get you hooked.
I don't know if anyone's been in the hobby any length of time, but the landscape has changed so dramatically in the last 5 to 10 years, and Warlord have contributed enormously to that. The number of plastics now that you can get and the quality of them is absolutely unbelievable. If you want to get into Napoleonics, 20 years ago, you needed to be rich. I used to paint professionally a while back, and the only people that could afford Napoleonics were all doctors and solicitors. But now you can get an army for peanuts, and they're excellent figures. We've got it better than at any other time.
Well, I think that was the GW were like the business of the hobby, weren't they? They were the guys who were, they got the industry side. And I think when obviously, John Stallard, he went and he's quite open about GW, trained him up and helped him to sort of set up Warlord almost with his training. I mean, I've seen that in one of the interviews. So obviously that knowledge has sort of gone down very much for Ronnie Renton at Mantic. He went off and he did all the fantasy stuff for Kings of War. And there's a few of people who've sort of left. I mean, Alessio's writing loads of rules now. He's got River Horse, the design company, And I think, that's one thing you guys thank GW for, because, I mean, if there wasn't GW, we'd probably still be, model-wise.
See, I didn't get into the game through GW. I got into it through 15mm World War II stuff. It was all...
yeah, but okay, if GW did... If GW hadn't existed, do you think...
They did all the learning, basically, didn't they? And then they passed it on. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, because of what GW did, they were at the top of the game. So when the management sort of left and went off to do their own things, they took that knowledge with them and introduced it into, Ronnie's gone into sci-fi, Mars Attacks, license, all that sort of stuff. I mean, obviously Warlord have gone historical with a little bit of Judge Dredd, bit of this, but, historical's a big focus for them. I mean, I was looking at your website, and pretty much, I think there's only 40 years in history you don't cover, isn't there?
Vietnam War, come on, man.
Yes. There are gaps. There are gaps. But I mean, to carry on what you guys were saying, yeah. I mean, essentially, I live here in Nottingham. I know obviously all of Warlords pretty damn well. I know a lot of the guys from Mantic. I know a lot of the guys from GW headquarters. And again, previously I worked at a different at a discount retailer. And again, everyone there pretty much is ex-GW. I mean, if you come to Warlords, sort of 90% of our staff are ex-GW because they taught all the metal casters how to cast. They taught all the resin casters how to cast. If you go to any War Games manufacturer around Nottingham, and there are dozens, you'll find someone from GW in there somewhere because they teach very well. They're very good at teaching people how to do what they want. And then whenever they leave GW, they take their skills with them and do whatever they want. So I say Warlord started around John's kitchen table. John and Paul left GW, and they were stuck with what to do. And essentially, they used their severance money from GW to bring out a set of plastic Romans, and that was our first kit, Plastic Legionnaires, which was literally designed, and it was all filmed on John's kitchen table. And then it's famous that Rick then came along as a favour. He sold the black powder rule set to Warlord for £1 and a curry, and we're very involved. And say if you go to pretty much any War Games manufacturer, you'll find traces of GW there somewhere. Whether it's they worked in stores, whether it's they worked at HQ, whether they casted, whether they sculpted, whether they wrote books, anything like that, you'll find traces of GW everywhere. They're very fantastic trainers. There's only it's a vast minority of us that aren't ex-GW.
Have you still got an army of space pixies?
Me? I didn't work for GW, but I may have a terribly large army of space orcs.
That's what I
can't
like to
say
hear.
anything. Imperial Guard on the shelf behind me. I need to clean those out actually and give them a dusting and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
That's
I
a
don't
good
want to
job,
pack them
mate.
away yet. I just need to pack most of them away. I think it's about 6,000-7,000 points worth.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, when you're talking Imperial Guard,
I mean, I
That's numbers.
used to collect the Valhallans, the old metal one-piece sort of Siberian-looking models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, when Apocalypse came out, when the Emperor's Fist, the 10 Leman Russ box set came out, I ended up with 120 Leman Russ battle tanks.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's not including variants like Vanquishers and the Exterminator and all that kind of thing. That's just the battle tank. They didn't all get built. They didn't all get used in anger. But that's the way I do. I just collect and collect and collect and hoard and just go to silly lengths. Hence, whatever it is, 5,000-6,000 points of Marines and growing every day. So there's more Shermans joining the force now. So yeah.
I do the same but with terrain. It takes up a fair bit more room.
I haven't got a single army.
Lord Tattoo's saying we need people to do the Chinese and the Aussies.
The Australians, you could use Chindits.
Yeah, you could.
Apart from the Owen, some of them might have had that.
Yeah,
What?
apparently.
Carbine, they call it. It's an SMG with a vertical magazine on it.
Right.
They're still
Yeah.
using it in Vietnam. It's very reliable.
A lot of our guys use the regular British infantry plastics as well for Australians because they shared a lot of the same equipment. So with a little bit of creative license, and again you can use a few Chindit heads to get the bush hats. You can do Australians that way. Yeah,
Do you
again
do
Chinese
Chindit heads in the separate head system.
Yes, yeah,
You can.
absolutely.
Easy then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very easy British uniforms.
Again, one of the things we're looking to do coming forward is to really push on showing people how to make these forces that we don't sell, but you can use our figures to represent. Say things like Chinese, we're going to do kind of conversion guides on the Chinese. It's not sort of a conversion as such because you just use this sprue of Japanese and that sprue of Russians or Germans, combine the two. So it's not necessarily conversion, it's just a convergence of parts, maybe is the phrase.
Yeah.
And again, we're going to do some articles on how to represent those in the game, represent Chinese, Australians, and all sorts of those sort of slightly smaller armies that we don't produce just yet, but you can quite accurately produce relatively easy just by combining kits and stuff.
Cool. What about the Flames of War guys? They did a book called The Art of War, and
Yes.
it was just photos. That was really, really nice. I don't play Flames of War, but I did buy that because some of the eye candy in it is really amazing.
Yep.
That might be. I'd certainly buy a copy. You'd sell one.
Well, I mean, again, obviously we do our armies of books, our theatre books, that kind of thing, which are kind of packed with art from Peter Dennis, which are kind of awesome. And again, our Osprey artwork's always fantastic. And again, photos of all of our studio models and stuff.
Some of the studio models are brilliant, especially the early German ones. The first beautifully painted.
But yeah, and again, we do. We've got painting guides online, PDFs you can download from. My boss is going to kill me. I can't remember the guy's name, but a very famous
Dave Taylor?
painter. Yes, Dave Taylor. That's the one. Yes, Dave Taylor's done some great painting guides for us. And again, we've got plenty more of those coming. We've got another 4 coming in the next couple of months or so, and then we're going to do more and more of those to kind of cover as much as possible. And again, another big thing we're doing at the moment, and we really like to do, is dipping out to the community for their paint schemes and paint jobs as well, because there are some ridiculous talented guys out there painting some amazing stuff. And again, they're doing paint schemes that we wouldn't think of. They're doing different camo patterns that we wouldn't think of. There are people doing just plain weird stuff, doing weird paint schemes, weird camo schemes. And again, we're all about the fun. So as great as it is to have great, really accurate paint schemes, we really love seeing people take on their own paint schemes and doing their own thing as well.
There you go, Dave. Your Japs are alright.
Yeah, you just sorted, mate.
You can't see what I'm doing behind my hand, but you can get. I'll keep it PG.
Okay. What's PSK's actual name? I can't remember.
Pete.
Pete. Okay. He's saying, Mel, Dave, what beer do I need to buy?
Guinness.
Oh man, I love the Guinness.
Oh no, not Guinness.
Yeah, I'm telling you, yeah, we're sharing a room, mate. We're all three of us going to get one room. We're going to get stinking on Guinness, and then the next day, yeah, we're going to create the biggest green cloud you've ever seen.
No. I'll be drinking sake. That's what I'll be drinking.
Oh yeah.
Yes, drinking in character. I like it.
What would the Brits be drinking in Burma then?
Liquid bully beef.
Warm water.
No, I mean obviously
Dirty
when
water.
They brew stuff. They brew their own. The stills. They talk about it in that quartered safe out here.
Yeah.
Soldiers.
Right. In which case, I'm going to have to get a still on. I think that's illegal, isn't it?
Well, look how long it took you to build your shed. You're never going to build a still this time.
It's built, isn't it? Look, where were you, Mister? I was a labourer. I worked in the foundries. Where were you?
I've done it all.
I'll let Rich off. He is a part of this, yeah. But I built that shed.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, I've got a question anyway. Do Warlord produce Amazons? I need more of those to use as Slanesh Marauders.
As what?
Slanesh Marauders.
We don't produce.
In the first place here. God damn it.
We don't produce a lot of fantasy miniatures. We do a small range of bits and pieces that are kind of Wojtek, our infamous sculptor. He does kind of his own fun little bits and pieces on the side. So obviously we do a lot of historical stuff. Every now and then he wants to stretch his legs and kind of try something different. So we do things like there's a dwarf line maidens kind of fantasy football team that may be of interest, but obviously they're not Amazon, they're sort of dwarf ladies, but they're quite muscular and quite well built, so that might be a thing to try. Otherwise,
make plastic 28mm multi-part Amazons.
Yeah,
yeah, as long as you don't mind them being horrible.
There's also, again, this coming Friday's newsletter might have something interesting that you might be interested in if you're into that kind of thing.
Friday's newsletter? So do you do two?
We do, yeah. Friday is our productsy newsletter, so any new releases, every single week we put out new releases, so that's the Friday newsletter, which is full of new stuff. And then Wednesdays is our hobby and kind of history newsletter, so kind of more...
That's really good, because it constantly keeps you sort of interested in the hobby when you're at work and you get an email from Warlord, that's my kind of something to look at.
Yeah,
I really rate that. It's a good system.
Yeah, I must admit, I spotted the Wednesday one drop this morning. I'll actually admit, I jumped on it, sort of like, right, let's have a look. There's a couple of things I wanted to have a peek at. Yeah, I actually didn't realise that TGN had a YouTube channel until I actually checked that out.
You hinted earlier on that the Marines are getting some new stuff. And obviously we've heard about the Japs that we don't really care about. We've heard a bit about some of the other stuff. So what's coming from the Marines that you're allowed to talk about? I know it's close to your heart and everything, so I'd expect you to be well versed in this.
Well, did Mel tell you about a secret product that I can't discuss on air that's coming out in November time? There's a box set that
Yeah. I'm aware of that. Yep.
That's the thing.
Sorry, I mean I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. I wouldn't like to say. I mean, there's some great stuff. I've seen bits and pieces. At the moment, though, there's a lot of Winter Americans being shown off for the Battle of the Bulge and that kind of thing, which is coming later in the year. But yeah, Marines-wise, there's bits and pieces. Again, I'm not sure what I can say just yet.
Well, you let us know and we will tell the world.
Except 5 flamethrowers and grabby claws.
But yeah, I mean, I'm massively excited. It's great because, again, this Friday's newsletter is going to be very exciting for all of us, I think, for one reason or another. And then there's also a fantastic character miniature that's going to be shown off quite soon, which is Pacific related, which I am massively excited about, literally shaking with excitement, which is fantastic.
You're a US player.
Yes, yeah.
Right, we're going to have to start drilling down through famous US. McCarthy, you reckon? Yeah.
I wouldn't like to say, but I'm massively excited about him. I converted him previously with my plastic US Marines, but again, the miniature we've done is just beautiful. So that's going to be amazing. And then there's a half track coming, which I'm not going to say which one or which variant. There are some more animals coming with the Americans. not mules, but something different, and again Pacific related.
Pandas.
Yes,
Rodeo
yep.
cities,
War pandas.
Yeah.
War pandas are
War
definitely.
pandas.
Kung Fu
Awesome.
pandas.
Yeah, I mean, I say
Comfort sheep.
it's funny to say that. The sheep, we have sold a single sheep model. We sell a single sheep model, and for the I joined about 2 years ago. And
You
for the
do a
first-
Welsh regiment.
For the first year of me being here, it was one of our consistent top 10 selling products of all time. Is a single sheep, to the point where we released a flock of sheep, which is 5 sheep together, and again the sheep still sells. It's up in like the top 10 constantly.
Who's buying them?
It's
Everyone.
because it works for all eras.
Mate,
So
it's same
Yeah,
as
it
terrain.
does
A
work.
hill is a
It works
hill.
for
It doesn't
everything.
matter what army's battled over it. It's got universal appeal.
and again, Warlord sheep are the finest 28 mil sheep out there. So come get your sheep from Warlord.
This is true.
All the terrain pieces, yeah. Because when we were walking around, like, what was it, Slough? Was it we were walking around and there were all the World War II stuff, like scenes, tables and stuff.
Yeah, everyone's got sheep.
Within reach.
Yeah, man. And dogs.
What about bicycles?
We do bicycles. We do Brits on bicycles. We do Brit Airborne on well bikes, which is kind of a motorised bicycle
Yeah.
type of thing. We do.
Back on the left.
I think that's it. We do a couple of different bicycle units, but again, in game, they're just sort of a sort of transports. They're not a key unit.
No.
I have in the past week, I've looked at the Brit bicycles, thinking of how I do them as Marines. So I might convert some to Marines soon, but they look like a bit of a swine. So after a few beers, maybe.
Whilst you mentioned Brits, Graham Collins saying, I'd like to see some alternative character models for the British infantry, mid-late war, medics, officers, etc.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, there's a Brit medic.
Anything on that?
There are a couple of Brit medics, I think, already out there that we do. There's one in the Brit Army Command with a stretcher. I think there's one in the BF Command, but I'm not certain. But again, things like stretcher bearers. Again, I've done a Marine conversion, 2 Marine conversions of stretcher teams and stuff. So they're quite easy with the plastics to make stretcher bearer teams that are actually carrying casualties and stuff. But again, characters-wise, we get emails every day of people requesting we do this tank, that tank, this model, this plastic set. Why don't we do this set? Why don't we do that? I mean, everyone's got their own specific little niche. Little speciality, and I would want a million different Buffalo variants, and Mel would want a million different Chinook characters, and everyone wants their own little thing. So we take every recommendation on board and every comment on board, and we try and filter them through. So we keep kind of a tally in the background of the amount of times that someone asks for this set to be made, that set to be made. Take that on board and try and filter that in as we can with our own sort of release schedule. With regards to characters, again.
So what you're saying is, if somebody wants something, they just need to spam.
I'm not. No. I used to work on a help desk, and the guys that do sit just like 10 feet that way. If you were to start spamming that you want a very specific thing, I would get it in the neck so hard. So my cake options would be just 0.
Not me. I'm just asking on behalf of Graham there.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm not recommending spam. If you do spam, we will do something.
Are you going to get filled in if we spam like crazy now? We're going to see some like customer services members throw his phone at you or something like that.
Yes. We have a guy called Lorenzo who's very fiery on customer service. If you were to get spamming at Lorenzo, I dread to think
You see, that name drop specific. That's for attention.
So there you go. Yeah. There you go, Graham. Spam Lorenzo.
If you want his personal email address.
Characters.
Oh, what's it? On the characters, next time you pass in the design studio, just throw Major General Ferguson down for the Chindits, the Gurkha officer. Joanna Lumley's dad.
The name rings a bell.
You know Joanna Lumley?
Yeah.
She does all the, Well, the reason she supports the Gurkhas is because her father was a Gurkha officer. Yep. Yeah, Major General Major Lumley, and he fought as part of the Chindit force with Wingate.
Okay.
So I'm throwing that one in the pot for, if you're doing Pacific as a one-off medal.
Is he not in the...
No, he isn't, I don't think.
The same name rings a bell. I'm not... I might have to look further into that.
He's in the Osprey books, and, they make special mention of him being in the Osprey books, but if memory serves from what I checked on Warlord, you haven't got Ferguson in there. You've got the Scottish guy, and who's the other guy? The Toff. I can't remember the names, but Ferguson isn't. Lumley isn't. They've got Ferguson, Lumley isn't in there.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I say we do Ferguson. That's the one that rings a bell.
Yeah.
Lumley-wise, not sure.
Yeah. But no, if you're passing, just throw that, because that would be quite nice to go with me Gurkhas.
Well, the thing is, everything at what you'll learn quite quickly. Everything at Warlord runs on cake and bacon. So the thing is, when you pop down for Warlord Games Day or whenever you're popping in, come with cake, come with some form of bacon snack, and
Right,
that's
also
the way to do it.
of all channels.
We'll
So
get
today,
Tez to make some of those pineapples with bacon and ribs inside, and we'll bring them.
that
Yeah,
sounds
like hell, they're not leaving my house, mate.
that sounds like. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, today we had 2 cake deliveries and a delivery full of rock in our one office. I say we're one office. The studio upstairs has their own cake deliveries. The guys in casting have their own cake deliveries.
Wow.
I've put on so much weight since I started working here. It's unreal. It's amazing.
You wait till you discover Krispy Kreme donuts. Well,
And it's
We
great.
discovered those when I
they're
was
like
working in the
crack
corporate.
cocaine.
The corporate world, yeah, when you work in corporate sales, and you sort of enterprise sales and stuff like that, you don't visit an office without £100 worth of sweeties. I mean, literally, you raid Tesco before you go in, and you go in with carrier bags, and it's not much money because you're giving away like iPads for making sales. Ring that person, sell this firewall, I'll give you an iPad.
Yeah.
And so cakes are nothing. I swear to God, yeah, I had a back-related injury because for the first time in my life I put on weight when I was working in marketing. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And when I got big?
Yeah, and you got fat just sitting there to take all day.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I ate.
Cake, pizza and burgers.
Yeah, that's all I ate. All
It's
day.
great. It's great because I say on Facebook, on the Belt Action groups, we're kind of known for. We cheekily mentioned that we survive on cake. We've got one of the staff members here. His wife particularly makes us cake like 2 or 3 times a week. So we get massive, just tins full of cake. And again, then what happens is customers come here to come and buy stuff. So what happens is I'll go for my lunch break. I'll go away for half an hour. I'll come back and a customer will have been and brought us like 8 boxes of cake. So I regularly come back and my desk is just cake. It's like there's cake in the way.
I need to work at Warlord.
Right. Great. Just out of interest, Warlord's employment contract. Yeah, they do include they do include a clause for not suing them for getting diabetes, don't they?
No comment. No comment.
No comment. Hey, mate. Actually, guys, listen, we're coming up to about 10 o'clock, aren't we?
We are just past.
Just passed, yeah. Let me just do a quick run through the comments. Winter Americans went down well.
They look amazing as well. In person, they look even better.
Not so happy that there's more stuff to buy for the Yanks because it's hindering getting started on finish. Andy wants more Belgian tanks. I don't think the world's ready for more Belgian tanks.
I think there are some more coming, but again, names and things, not off the top of my head just yet. But yes, there are more Belgians coming, but again, time frame wise, not sure.
Those are the ones that go faster in reverse than they do forward, aren't they?
That was an Italian tank thing, but possibly yes. It was the Italian tanks that had a driver's seat at the front and a driver's seat at the back as well.
Right then, I think we've had a good show, haven't we? Are we all good, guys?
Yeah.
We're all good, my friend.
Yeah.
2 seconds, there's a question specifically here.
Okay.
Will Warlord make any great war figures for bolt action? Would be interested in the early war 1914 period. This gives a good challenge, and can you win before the trenches appear?
Nice. Yeah, again, World War I is one thing that comes up quite regularly. You'll probably know that about maybe 8-10 months ago, we released 3 or 4 different World War I tanks on kind of an isolated release. Again, it's something that comes up quite regularly. And we're always, obviously you guys know about all the games we have at the moment, Bolt Action, Pike and Shot, Hail Caesar, Black Powder, Terminator, Judge Dredd, that we have out at the moment. We're also obviously in the background working on Conflict 47, we're working on obviously 30 books of Bolt Action, then we're working on campaign books of Bolt Action. There's loads of stuff in the pipeline, but at the same time, behind closed doors, there are other bits and pieces and other games we're working on, other stuff in the background. Obviously, I know some bits and pieces. Then there are people above me who have a different level of privilege and know other bits and pieces. There's always stuff being worked on, and there's always heaps and heaps and heaps. Obviously, there's a million things we could do. It's prioritising them. So there was talk of a World War I game based upon Bolt Action, I believe, a while ago. Then the tanks were brought out, and then I think something else came in that kind of trumped it and was a bit more of a priority for us. So it's there somewhere. I have no date at all, and it may be years. It may not come for ages and ages and ages. I don't know. It was being worked on at one point. I haven't heard anything for a while, so I think other bits and pieces are just kind of prioritised above it.
And last, I'll call this the last question. Are there any Belgian command teams or support teams coming?
Again, on the release schedule that I've got, I've seen a few Belgian tanks, I think, but I can't recollect more Belgian command or support teams at the moment. But again, things sneak in. The release schedule very, very, very regularly changes about, often at short notice, depending on what comes through to us. So often we get sort of surprises and we get new offers of different games and different bits and pieces from people. So at the moment, no immediate plans, but keep watching. Obviously, we would love to make every option in the books, but obviously we have a limited resource, we have a limited amount of casters, limited amount of mold makers, and ultimately, limited amount of funds to chuck into it. So, yeah, no immediate plans right now, but certainly in the future.
Cool. Excellent.
Thanks for all your questions, guys. We'll leave it at that for those.
Cool. All right then, let's wind this up, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously, John needs his beauty sleep.
Mate, there aren't enough hours in the evening for me to sleep for that.
We all thought it, he said it.
Okay, listen, first and foremost, I've got to thank Richard for some sort of jumping on with us this evening. It was sort of short notice, and I think you've done remarkably well to join our motley crew, mate.
I feel like I sort of barged my way in, really. It's really good to be here. It's fantastic. It's great fun. If in future you want me to dive on again, give me a shout. I hope the project goes really well. Give me a shout anytime for anything you need, any questions. It's all good. I hope to speak to you guys again soon.
Well, no doubt we will, mate. We will. Just hang around and we'll all say goodbye together. Don't disappear on us.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Final words from the very quiet Dave, who's been very busy painting because he's very busy.
Very, very busy. I am very busy. Final words. I've been waiting for washing and stuff to dry. I can't do much.
Give us a bonsai, mate.
It's one of them. What'd you say, Mel?
Give us a banzai.
Banzai!
Okay, from the Yankee boy up in Scotland.
See you down the next one, guys. And next week for my videos. So I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not having to buy the beers. Yeah.
And. Oh, sorry, dude.
No, that's fine. I'm done.
All right, mate. Right, Mikey boy.
Nice chatting to you guys. Thank you. See you again.
Short and sweet. Bit like shorter than me. Dude! Oh, show! Sorry.
Wow. That's that mature
We
tag
made
right
it
at
to
the
the
end.
All I had to do was say goodbye. Oh, mate, I can't believe that. Right, well, we'll beat that out somehow. I'll do a bit of video editing or something.
Can we not invite him back, please? Honestly.
Yeah, but he's nice. I like Mike.
Terrible.
He knows how to paint models. I haven't got a clue. Anyway, guys, listen, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for joining. Yes, it is. And he did. I mean, you got to be pretty dedicated to stay to the end. Now we've had about 20 guys following us roughly all night, which is awesome. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Right, just so you know, with regards to my live shows, they're back on my channel now with the Sundays and Wednesdays. This is a monthly thing, so we'll probably be doing this in about another 4 weeks' time, and I'll let you know close to the time. But if you're wondering about my live shows, check them out on my channel, guys. And until Sunday night, I think we should all just give them a big wave and say goodbye. See you guys!
See you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Right, let me switch this off.